Jack Miller wiped sweat from his forehead as he walked through the dense forest surrounding Frontier Station 9. The purple-tinted trees towered above him, their wide leaves blocking most of the sunlight. His job as a xenobiologist meant these daily checks were routine, but Jack never tired of exploring this alien world. Sample 42, standard vegetation. No changes. He spoke into his recorder. The company wanted constant updates on everything. Jack sometimes wondered if anyone actually listened to these recordings. A strange sound stopped him mid-step. It wasn't the usual chirping of the bird-like creatures or the rustling of the six-legged grazers. This was different. A weak, pained whimper. Jack moved cautiously toward the sound, pushing aside thick undergrowth. In a small clearing, he found its source. The creature was about the size of a large house cat, with sleek black scales that shimmered with a blue iridescence in the patches of sunlight. 2 rows of short spines ran down its back, and its 6 limbs ended in curved claws. But what caught Jack's attention were its eyes, large, intelligent, and golden, watching him with a mixture of fear and pain. "Hello there," Jack said softly, crouching down. The creature tried to back away but winced in pain. Its hind leg was trapped under a fallen branch, and dried purple blood caked its scales. Jack knew the rules. Non-interference with local wildlife was the first thing they taught at orientation. But those golden eyes held him in place. "I'm not supposed to help you," he told the creature. "But I'm also not supposed to be talking to animals, so I guess we're already breaking rules." He slowly reached for the branch. The creature hissed, displaying rows of sharp teeth. "Easy now. I'm trying to help," Jack said. He gently lifted the branch, and the creature pulled its injured leg free. Jack expected it to run, but it didn't. It just watched him, head tilted slightly as if trying to understand. Station protocols were clear. Report any injured apex predators and let nature take its course. Jack had seen the briefings. This was a juvenile Vardaxian night stalker, one of the most dangerous predators on the planet. Even young ones could be deadly. But this one looked so small, so vulnerable. "You're going to get me fired," Jack muttered, opening his pack. He took out his lunch container and water bottle. The creature watched every movement. Jack's scanner showed the creature was malnourished and dehydrated. Besides the leg injury, it must have been separated from its pack for days. "Your family left you behind, huh?" Jack poured some water into the container's lid. The creature sniffed it cautiously. A static burst from Jack's communicator made the creature jump. "Miller, what's your status?" It was Lisa Carter, his supervisor. "Routine check, Sector 7, Jack replied. "Nothing unusual to report." He looked at the creature. "Just finishing up." "Well, hurry back. Storm coming in from the north." Jack looked at the darkening sky, then back at the injured predator. It had finally started drinking the water. "I must be crazy," Jack whispered. He slowly removed his outer jacket and, moving carefully, wrapped it around the surprised creature. It squirmed but was too weak to fight much. "Sorry, buddy, but I can't leave you here." He gently placed the bundled creature in his pack, leaving it partially open for air. The walk back to the station was tense. Every sound made Jack nervous. Expecting to be caught, the creature remained surprisingly quiet in his pack, as if it understood the need for silence. Jack avoided the main entrance and used the maintenance door near his quarters. The corridors were empty, everyone preparing for the approaching storm. Once safely in his room, Jack gently placed his pack on the bed and opened it. The creature peeked out, those golden eyes now studying its new surroundings. "Welcome to your temporary home," Jack said. "I'm going to call you Scout." Scout slowly emerged from the pack, limping on the injured leg. "Let's get you fixed up," Jack said, reaching for his medkit. "But this stays between us, okay? Our secret." Scout tilted his head again, and Jack could have sworn the creature understood every word. 3 weeks passed since Jack brought Scout back to his quarters. The small alien predator had healed quickly, Its leg no longer caused pain, and the scales had regained their blue-black shine. Scout had doubled in size, now closer to a medium dog than a house cat. Jack worried about keeping such a growing creature hidden. Jack placed a bowl of synthesized protein on the floor. Breakfast time. Scout. Scout jumped down from Jack's bed, where it had made a nest from spare blankets. It sniffed the food, then looked up at Jack as if waiting for permission. Go ahead. It's all yours. Scout ate with neat, precise movements, nothing like the savage feeding behavior described in the station's wildlife records. When finished, Scout nudged the empty bowl toward Jack with its snout. You're welcome, Jack said with a smile. And thank you for being so tidy. Jack checked the time on his wrist device. I need to go to work now. You know the drill. Scout immediately crawled under the bed, disappearing from view. Jack had trained Scout to hide whenever he left, and to stay quiet. So far, it had worked perfectly. Good job. I'll be back for lunch. Jack stepped out into the corridor, making sure his door locked behind him. He walked to the research lab, feeling guilty about keeping Scout secret, but also proud of their bond. In the lab, Lisa Carter was waiting with a stern look. Miller, where's your weekly habitat report? Jack winced. He had forgotten it while caring for Scout. Sorry, I'll have it done by end of shift. Make sure you do. Also, there have been complaints about noises from your section of the residential wing. Jack's heart raced. Noises. Yes, Ben Wright says he heard strange sounds last night, like scratching. Probably just the ventilation system, Jack said quickly. You know how old this station is. Lisa gave him a long look. Maybe, but I'm scheduling room inspections for next week. Headquarters wants to make sure we're maintaining proper living conditions. Jack kept his face neutral despite his panic. No problem. For the rest of his shift, Jack worried about Scout. The creature was smart, but was it smart enough to stay hidden from a thorough inspection? When lunch break came, Jack hurried back to his quarters with extra food hidden in his pockets. Inside, he found Scout not under the bed but sitting on his desk chair, looking at his computer screen where habitat images scrolled by. Scout, what are you doing? Scout turned, golden eyes blinking innocently. It jumped down and trotted over to Jack, making the soft purring sound that had become its greeting. You can't be out in the open like that. What if someone saw you through the window? Scout lowered its head, somehow understanding Jack's concern. Jack sighed and knelt down. I'm not angry. I'm worried. Lisa's planning room inspections next week. Scout tilted its head, eyes focused on Jack with unnerving intelligence. We need to find a better hiding place for you. After lunch, Jack reluctantly left again. He spent the afternoon distracted, trying to think of solutions. When Jack returned that evening, he found Scout waiting eagerly. But something was different. Scout led Jack to the closet and used its snout to push at the wall panel inside. What are you doing? Scout continued pushing until Jack noticed the panel was loose. He carefully removed it, revealing a maintenance space between his quarters and the next room. How did you find this? Jack asked in amazement. Scout merely blinked those intelligent eyes. This is perfect. You can hide here during inspections. Scout seemed pleased with itself, making a soft, rumbling sound in its throat. Later that night, as Jack prepared for bed, there was a knock at his door. Jack froze. Scout, without needing to be told, slipped into the hidden space, taking its blanket with it. Jack opened the door to find Ben Wright standing there. Hey Jack, sorry to bother you so late. I thought I heard strange noises coming from your room again. Jack smiled calmly. Must be the ventilation. I was just about to file a maintenance request. Ben looked past Jack, eyes scanning the room. Maybe. It sounded almost like an animal. Just the old station creaking, Jack said. Nothing to worry about. After Ben left, Scout emerged from hiding and nudged Jack's hand with its head. That was close, Jack whispered, stroking Scout's scales. Too close. Scout looked up at him, and in those golden eyes, Jack saw not just intelligence, but something that looked remarkably like loyalty. Jack sat at his desk, staring at a message on his screen. The words blurred as tears filled his eyes. His father back on Earth had died after a long illness. Jack had known it was coming, but being so far away made the pain worse. He couldn't even attend the funeral. "Dad," he whispered to the empty room. Or so he thought. A soft sound made Jack turn. Scout had emerged from the hidden space in the wall where it usually hid during the day. The creature approached slowly, its golden eyes fixed on Jack's face. Jack wiped his eyes. "It's okay, Scout. Just bad news from home." Scout made a gentle rumbling sound deep in its throat. It nudged Jack's hand, then moved to the center of the room. Jack watched as Scout began to gather small objects: a pen from the desk, Jack's spare ID badge, a blue stone Jack had collected on one of his walks, and a small metal tool. "What are you doing?" Jack asked. Scout arranged the items in a careful pattern on the floor, then sat back and looked at Jack expectantly. Jack moved closer, kneeling to examine the arrangement. The items formed a simple but deliberate circle with the blue stone at the center. "Did you make this for me?" Scout made that rumbling sound again, then gently pushed the blue stone toward Jack with one clawed foot. Jack picked up the stone, feeling its smooth surface. "You're trying to make me feel better." Scout blinked slowly, a gesture Jack had come to recognize as agreement. "How did you know I was sad?" Jack asked, though he didn't expect an answer. Scout moved closer and pressed its head against Jack's chest, right over his heart. Jack felt a strange warmth spread through him. Scout wasn't just intelligent. It could somehow sense his emotions. A knock at the door startled them both. Scout immediately darted back to its hiding place, moving with silent grace despite its growing size. Jack opened the door to find Olivia Scott, one of the younger research assistants. "Hey Jack, I just heard about your dad. I'm really sorry." Jack nodded. "Thanks. It's been a tough day." Olivia glanced past him into the room. "Were you talking to someone?" "I thought I heard voices." "Just a call to my sister," Jack lied. "Family stuff." Olivia nodded, but her eyes narrowed slightly as she noticed the items still arranged on the floor. "What's that?" Jack's mind raced. "Just organizing some personal items. Helps me think." "Looks almost like a shrine," Olivia said. "Reminds me of how the native tribes on Proxima arrange memorials." "Yeah, I guess it does," Jack said, trying to sound casual. "I should get back to it." After Olivia left, Scout emerged once more. It looked at Jack with those intelligent eyes that seemed to understand everything. "That was close," Jack said. "Olivia is smart. She notices things others don't." Scout made a soft hissing sound, which Jack had learned meant concern. The next morning, Jack woke to find Scout sitting at the foot of his bed, much larger than the day before. The creature now stood as tall as Jack's knee, its muscular body covered in sleek scales that shifted colors slightly with the changing light. Jack measured Scout with a scanner, careful to keep the device silent, so it wouldn't transmit data to the main system. "You've grown another 4 inches in the past week," Jack said. "At this rate, you'll be as big as me in a few months." Scout seemed to understand, looking down at its own body, then back at Jack. Later that day, as Jack returned from his shift, he found scratch marks outside his door. They were small but distinct, claw marks in the metal. Jack's heart raced as he entered his quarters. "Scout, what happened?" Scout emerged from hiding, looking guilty. It led Jack to the door and mimicked scratching, then pantomimed trying to open it. "You tried to get out?" Jack asked, alarmed. Scout made the negative clicking sound Jack had come to recognize. It then went to the water dispenser, which was empty. "You were thirsty," Jack realized, "and I was late getting back." Scout nodded, its movements becoming more human-like each day. Jack filled the water bowl, watching as Scout drank. He knew they were reaching a crisis point. Scout was growing too large to keep hidden, and its intelligence was developing in ways Jack hadn't anticipated. "What am I going to do with you?" Jack whispered. Scout looked up from its water, golden eyes meeting Jack's. In that gaze, Jack saw not just intelligence, but trust. Complete, absolute trust. "I won't let you down," Jack promised. "Somehow, we'll figure this out." Jack stood at the observation window watching a sleek black ship dock at the station. Its polished surface reflected the stars, and a large corporate logo on its side gleamed under the station lights. The Stellar Horizon Corporation had arrived. "Not good," Jack muttered to himself. Lisa Carter joined him at the window. "The survey team is here earlier than expected." "What exactly are they surveying?" Jack asked, trying to sound casual. "Wildlife specimens," Lisa said, "for their private collection back on Earth." Jack's stomach tightened. What kind of specimens? The interesting kind. The dangerous kind. Lisa looked at Jack. "Primarily Vardaxian night stalkers. Apparently, they're quite valuable." Jack forced himself not to react. Scout was a night stalker. His night stalker. When Jack returned to his quarters that evening, he found Scout agitated. The creature paced the small room, its scales shifting to darker colors. Scout was now the size of a large dog, its powerful muscles visible under the iridescent scales. "What's wrong?" Jack asked. Scout went to the window and pressed its snout against the glass, looking out at the docked corporate ship. "You sense something about that ship?" Jack asked. "Something bad?" Scout made a deep growling sound that Jack had never heard before. The next morning, Jack met the corporate team in the station's main conference room. Their leader was a tall woman with cold eyes named Diane Russell. She wore an expensive suit that looked out of place on the frontier station. "Mr. Miller," she said, extending a hand. "I understand you're our resident expert on local wildlife." Jack shook her hand reluctantly. "I wouldn't say expert. I just catalog what I observe." "Well, we're particularly interested in the Vardaxian night stalkers," Diane said. "I've read they're magnificent predators, intelligent, deadly, with that gorgeous color-shifting hide. They're also endangered," Jack said, "and protected under colonial law." Diane smiled without warmth. "We have special permits. For research purposes, of course." "Of course," Jack said, not believing her for a second. After the meeting, Station Security Officer Greg Peters approached Jack in the corridor. "Jack, I need to do an inventory check of your quarters tomorrow. Standard procedure when corporate's visiting." Jack felt his heart race. "Tomorrow. I have field work scheduled." "Reschedule it," Greg said firmly. "This comes from the top." Back in his room, Jack paced while Scout watched him with those intelligent golden eyes. "We're in trouble," Jack told Scout. "They're hunting your kind, and they're going to search my quarters tomorrow." Scout tilted its head, listening intently. "I need to get you out of here," Jack said. "But where would you go? You've never lived in the wild." Jack spent the night making plans. He would take Scout deep into the forest, far from the station and the corporate hunters. But something told him Scout wouldn't survive on its own after 6 months of living with humans. Early the next morning, before his shift began, Jack heard excited voices in the corridor. He opened his door slightly to listen. "They caught one," a technician was saying. "A juvenile night stalker, just outside the perimeter." Jack closed the door and leaned against it, feeling sick. Scout approached him, sensing his distress. "They caught one of your kind," Jack whispered. Scout's reaction surprised him. Instead of fear, Scout's eyes narrowed and its scales darkened to almost pure black. It let out a low, controlled hiss. That night, alarms blared throughout the station. Jack woke to red emergency lights flashing. His communicator buzzed with an urgent message. All personnel to secure areas. Multiple predators detected outside station perimeter. Jack looked at Scout, who was now fully alert, head raised and nostrils flaring. "What's happening?" Jack asked. Scout went to the window. Outside, in the darkness beyond the station lights, Jack saw movement. Many large shapes moved in coordinated patterns around the station. Golden eyes reflected the station lights, dozens of them. "Are those your family?" Jack asked in awe. Scout made a sound that was neither confirmation nor denial. It pressed a clawed foot against the window, as if reaching out to those gathered in the darkness. Jack understood with sudden clarity. They've come for the captured juvenile, haven't they? They're organized, working together. Scout looked at Jack, and in those golden eyes he saw a decision being made. Scout moved to the door and scratched at it gently, then looked back at Jack. "You want to go out there," Jack said. "To them." Scout nodded, the human gesture now perfectly executed. Jack faced the hardest choice of his life. Keep Scout safe inside, or let the creature return to its kind, where it truly belonged. Jack stood frozen, torn between keeping Scout safe and letting the creature reunite with its kind. Before he could decide, his door slid open. Jack spun around to see Olivia standing there, her eyes wide as she stared at Scout. "I knew something was going on," she whispered, "but I never imagined this." Jack stepped between her and Scout. "I can explain." Olivia moved into the room, letting the door close behind her. "You've been keeping a Night Stalker in your quarters." "Jack, that's insane. They're apex predators." "Scout is different," Jack said. "Look at him. He's not attacking you, is he?" Scout remained calm, watching Olivia with curious eyes rather than aggression. "How long have you had him?" Olivia asked, her initial shock fading into scientific interest. 6 months. Found him injured in the forest." Jack quickly explained how he had nursed Scout back to health and the bond they had formed. Olivia shook her head in amazement. "This changes everything we know about their intelligence and social adaptability." The station alarms blared again, louder this time. "Those are his family outside," Jack said. "They've come for the captured juvenile." Olivia moved to the window and gasped at the sight of numerous Night Stalkers moving strategically around the station. "They're coordinating. This isn't random animal behavior." "I know," Jack said. "Scout wants to go to them." Olivia studied Scout for a long moment. "Maybe he should." A voice came over the station speakers. "All scientific personnel to the main lab. Security team to the armory." "This is not a drill." Jack and Olivia exchanged worried looks. "They're going to kill them," Jack said. "Diane and her team won't let a few predators stop their hunt." "We have to tell Commander Martinez about Scout," Olivia said. "Show her what you've discovered about their intelligence." Jack hesitated. "I'll lose my job, maybe face criminal charges for breaking protocol. If you don't, those Night Stalkers outside might lose their lives." Scout made a soft sound, nudging Jack's hand gently. "You're right," Jack said, making his decision. "Let's go." The corridors were chaotic as they made their way to the command center, Scout walking calmly by Jack's side. Crew members jumped back in shock, some reaching for weapons until Jack called out, "He's friendly. Don't shoot." They found Commander Kelly Martinez in the control room, directing the station's response to the situation. She turned at their entrance, her eyes widening at the sight of Scout. "What in the world is the doing inside my station?" she demanded. "His name is Scout," Jack said, "and he's the reason those Night Stalkers are outside." In the tense minutes that followed, Jack quickly explained everything. Finding Scout injured, nursing him back to health, discovering his intelligence and empathic abilities. Throughout his explanation, Scout remained calm, occasionally making soft sounds as if agreeing with Jack's words. Commander Martinez listened, her expression shifting from anger to curiosity. "You're telling me this creature understands us, has formed a bond with you?" "Yes," Jack said. "And more importantly, he's connected to those outside. They've come for the captured juvenile." Martinez looked thoughtful. "If what you're saying is true—" She was interrupted as Diane Russell burst into the room, followed by 2 armed members of her team. "Commander, we need to launch an offensive now," Diane said. "Those beasts have surrounded the station. My team is ready to eliminate the threat." She stopped when she spotted Scout, her eyes lighting up with greedy interest. "Well, what do we have here?" "A fully grown specimen, already contained." "He's not a specimen," Jack said firmly, stepping in front of Scout. "He's an intelligent being with rights." Diane laughed. "It's an animal, Mr. Miller. A valuable one." "Look outside," Olivia cut in. "Do those look like mindless animals to you?" "They're using coordinated tactics. They're communicating with each other." Diane glanced at the security feeds showing the Night Stalker's movements. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. Commander Martinez studied the feeds, then looked at Scout, who stood protectively close to Jack. "What do you suggest, Mr. Miller?" she asked finally. "Let me take Scout and the captured juvenile outside," Jack said. "Let Scout communicate with the pack. He can be our ambassador." Martinez considered this for a long moment while the alarms continued to blare. "If you're wrong," she said finally, "it could cost lives, including yours." "I'm not wrong," Jack said, looking down at Scout, who met his gaze with unwavering trust. "Scout has been trying to tell us something important about his species all along. It's time we listened." Commander Martinez's decision hung in the air. After what felt like forever, she nodded. "Very well, Mr. Miller. We'll try your way first." "This is insane," Diane protested. "You're risking the entire station based on one man's pet project." "It's not a project," Jack said firmly. "Scout is a thinking, feeling being." Martinez turned to her security chief. "Greg, escort Mr. Miller and his companion to the holding area where we have the captured juvenile. Then open the east airlock." Greg looked uncertain, but nodded. "Yes, Commander." Jack, Scout, and Greg moved through the station's corridors. Crew members pressed themselves against walls, staring in shock at Scout walking calmly beside Jack. "Never thought I'd be escorting an apex predator through the station," Greg muttered. They reached the holding area where the captured juvenile Night Stalker paced in a reinforced cage. It was smaller than Scout, with brighter blue markings on its scales. When it saw Scout, it made a high-pitched sound. Scout responded with a series of clicks and rumbles. The juvenile immediately calmed, moving closer to the cage bars. "They're communicating," Jack said in wonder. Greg shook his head. "In all my years on frontier stations, I've never seen anything like this." Jack carefully opened the cage. The juvenile darted out but didn't run away. Instead, it moved close to Scout, who gently touched noses with it. "Now for the hard part," Jack said. They made their way to the east airlock. Jack's heart pounded as they prepared to step outside, where dozens of wild Night Stalkers waited. Scout seemed completely calm, walking slightly ahead now, the juvenile following close behind. "The commander says to give you this," Greg said, handing Jack a small communication device, "so we can hear what happens." Jack attached it to his collar. The airlock door opened, revealing the alien knight. Scout paused, looking back at Jack as if asking permission. "Go ahead," Jack said softly, "but please be careful." Scout stepped outside, the juvenile beside him. Jack followed, his breath forming clouds in the cold night air. The moment they cleared the airlock, movement rippled through the darkness. Golden eyes appeared all around them, reflecting the station's lights. Jack counted at least 20 adult Night Stalkers emerging from the shadows, their scales shifting colors in the moonlight. Jack heard gasps over his communication device. The station crew was watching through security cameras. One Night Stalker, larger than the others with distinctive scarring across its snout, stepped forward. It made a deep, rumbling sound that Jack felt in his chest. Scout straightened to full height and responded with a similar sound. Then, to Jack's amazement, Scout turned and nudged Jack forward with its head. "What do you want me to do?" Jack whispered. Scout looked at him with those intelligent golden eyes, then back at the lead Night Stalker. The message was clear. "Introduce yourself." Jack swallowed hard. "Hello," he said, feeling slightly foolish. "My name is Jack Miller." I found Scout. He gestured to Scout, injured in the forest. I helped him heal. The lead Night Stalker studied Jack for a long moment. Then it made a sound Jack had never heard before, almost like a purr but deeper. Scout responded with a series of clicks and rumbles. The juvenile added its own higher-pitched sounds. The wild Night Stalkers listened, their postures relaxing slightly. Jack heard Commander Martinez's voice through his communication device. "What's happening out there, Miller?" "They're talking," Jack replied, his voice filled with wonder. "Scout is telling them about me, about us." The lead Night Stalker approached Jack slowly. Jack held perfectly still, fighting every instinct to run. Scout made a reassuring sound beside him. When the wild Night Stalker was just 3 feet away, it lowered its head in what looked remarkably like a bow. Then it raised its eyes to Jack's, and he saw the same intelligence that shone in Scout's eyes. "They understand," Jack whispered into his communicator. "They're not just animals. They're people." From the darkness, more Night Stalkers emerged, not aggressive, but curious. Scout moved among them, touching noses with some, making different sounds with others. Jack realized he was witnessing something no human had ever seen. Night Stalker social behavior, their communication, their society. "Miller," Martinez's voice came through again. "Diane is demanding we bring you back inside. She's threatening to call corporate headquarters." Jack watched as Scout played with the juvenile, surrounded by the wild pack that had accepted them both. "Let her call," Jack said. "This is more important than her collection." 2 weeks passed since that night outside the station. Everything had changed. Commander Martinez had reported the discovery to Earth headquarters, sending videos of Scout communicating with humans and with his own kind. Scientists across human space were amazed. Diane and her team had left empty-handed, their hunting permits canceled after Martinez filed an emergency protection order for the Night Stalkers. Jack sat at his new desk in what the crew now called the ambassador's office. The room had once been a storage area, but was now filled with screens showing the forest outside and special equipment to record Night Stalker sounds. Scout lounged nearby on a custom-built platform. He was now fully grown, the size of a small pony, his scales shimmering with blue-black iridescence. The door was always open, and Scout came and went freely between the station and the forest. "Morning report ready, Jack," Olivia said, bringing in a tablet. "The southern pack moved 5 miles closer to us yesterday. That makes 3 packs now within observation range." Jack nodded. "They're curious about us. Scout's been telling them we're not a threat." Olivia smiled. "It's hard to believe a month ago we thought they were just animals." Jack looked at Scout fondly. "We were the ones who couldn't see properly." The door opened, and Commander Martinez entered. "Special call coming in from Earth, Jack. They want to talk to both you and Scout." Jack laughed. "They'll have to be patient. Scout's been teaching me their language, but I'm a slow learner." Martinez smiled. "Just do your best. This is historic." After she left, Jack turned to Scout, ready to talk to more humans who will ask the same questions over and over. Scout made the rumbling sound that Jack now knew meant amusement. That afternoon, Jack and Scout walked together in the forest. They did this daily now, part of their new research routine. Several wild Night Stalkers joined them, keeping a respectful distance but clearly comfortable with Jack's presence. They reached a small clearing where the lead Night Stalker, the scared one Jack now called Elder, waited. Scout approached Elder, and they touched noses in greeting. Jack had learned this was an important ritual in Night Stalker society. Elder made a series of complex sounds. Jack understood only parts, but Scout listened intently. "What's he saying?" Jack asked when they finished. Scout looked at Jack, then pointed with his snout toward the mountains in the distance, making a questioning sound. "He wants us to go to the mountains," Jack guessed. Scout nodded, the human gesture now as natural to him as his own. "There's something there they want to show us." Another nod. Jack smiled. I'll ask Martinez to approve an expedition." As they walked back to the station, Jack reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, he'd been a lonely xenobiologist cataloging plants. Now he was at the center of mankind's first true communication with an alien intelligence. Scout walked beside him, occasionally brushing against Jack's leg, a gesture of affection Jack had come to treasure. At the station's edge, they paused. The sun was setting, painting the alien sky with purple and gold. Some of the wild night stalkers had followed them, and now sat in a loose circle, watching the sunset with what Jack could only interpret as appreciation. "You know," Jack said to Scout, "when I found you in the forest, I thought I was saving you." Scout looked up at him with those intelligent golden eyes. "But really, you were saving me. Saving all of us from our own ignorance." Scout made a soft sound and leaned against Jack's leg. One of the younger night stalkers approached cautiously. It had been born after first contact and had never known humans as enemies. It looked up at Jack with curious eyes, then made a perfect imitation of Scout's affectionate lean against Jack's other leg. Jack laughed in delight. "You're teaching them about us, aren't you? Just like I taught you." Scout's eyes seemed to smile, and Jack swore he could see pride there. The station lights came on as darkness fell, creating a pool of light where they stood, humans and night stalkers together at the edge of two worlds. Jack knew there would be challenges ahead. Earth would want more research, more communication, maybe even trade agreements someday. But for now, this moment was perfect. "Come on," Jack said to Scout. "Let's go home." Scout looked at the station, then at the forest, and made a sound that needed no translation. Both were home now. Together, they walked into the light.